So I think most people feel like money should be kind of exciting, but I learned that building real wealth comes from habits that feel almost painfully plain, and that small shift changed my entire financial life. When I tell you that the more boring my daily routine became, the more my savings began to grow. I am not exaggerating at all, and today I want to share with you 10 very boring habits that save me serious money, like a lot. Habits that anyone can copy because they are simple, predictable, and easy to repeat every single day. My name is Alex, and if you were sitting right here with me, I would tell you exactly what I tell my closest friends, which is that a quiet and steady approach to money will almost always outperform a flashy one. These habits are not glamorous, but they work. And they work in ways that even a beginner can understand because everything I'm going to say comes from my own experience of living in a very minimalist and extremely frugal way. So just leave a like and make sure to don't get too much bored, especially because the 10th habit is the most important one, but also the most boring. The first boring habit that saves me a surprising amount of money is eating the same core meals every single week. I know that sounds repetitive and maybe even a little strange, but I promise you it brings so much stability into your financial life. When I eat the same meals, my grocery list becomes predictable, my spending becomes predictable, and my stress levels drop. I do not waste time thinking about what to cook. I do not scroll through food delivery apps. I do not let ingredients spoil because everything I buy has a clear purpose. I usually rotate 4 or 5 simple meals that I genuinely enjoy. Things like rice bowls, pasta, roasted vegetables, quick soups, and oatmeal. They take little time, use few ingredients, and cost almost nothing. When you repeat these meals week after week, your grocery bill stabilizes and you eliminate the urge to experiment with expensive ingredients that you might never use again. I always tell people that the power of this habit is not about eating boring food, but about removing chaos from your daily financial decisions, because every bit of avoided chaos becomes money saved. The second boring habit is cleaning out my fridge, freezer, and pantry before buying anything new. This is even less exciting than the first habit, but it saves so much money because it forces you to finish the food you already paid for. When I started doing this, I realized how often I used to buy duplicates of things I already had. And I also realized how much food I wasted simply because it sat in a corner where I could not see it. Now I make it a weekly practice to pull everything out, decide what needs to be used first, and plan my meals around what is already available. I call it a use what you have week, and it keeps me grounded. It also keeps my fridge almost empty by the time I go shopping, which helps me buy only what I truly need. This habit sounds dull, but it stops impulse purchases and prevents wasted money more effectively than almost anything else I do. The third boring habit is actually learning what not to buy in bulk. Many people assume that buying everything in large quantities saves money, but that is not always true. In fact, when you live alone or with just one other person, bulk shopping often leads to waste because things go bad before you can use them. Jerry, I learned this the hard way with produce, bread, and snacks. Now, I only buy bulk items that I know I will use quickly, such as rice, beans, eggs, and frozen vegetables. Everything else I buy in small quantities so I can focus on finishing what I have. This is a boring habit because you are actively choosing not to chase deals, but avoiding unnecessary bulk purchases saves far more money than people realize, especially when you factor in waste. The fourth boring habit is making my coffee at home almost every day. I am not going to tell you to give up lattes forever because I still enjoy them and I still buy them sometimes, but I buy them with intention, not out of habit. When you make coffee at home, especially if you buy quality beans and create a small ritual around it, you discover that the experience can be just as enjoyable as going to a cafe. More importantly, you remove that autopilot spending that drains your budget without you noticing it. I used to buy coffee without thinking, and those little purchases added up fast. Now I treat cafe coffee as something special, something social, or something I choose consciously, not something I buy by default. That tiny shift saves hundreds of dollars every year. The fifth boring habit is refusing to shop when I am bored. This was one of the hardest habits for me to build because I used to be a constant browser, always scrolling through clothing stores, tech stores, and home decor apps. Even when I did not plan to buy anything, the more I browsed, the more I wanted. So I had to break that cycle. I deleted shopping apps, added screen limits, and created boundaries like no purchases in the morning and no impulse buys without a 24-hour pause. Yeah, I replaced that browsing time with hobbies that actually enrich my life, like reading, walking, exercising, and working on personal projects. Boredom shopping drains your wallet quietly, slowly, and consistently, and avoiding it might be the most powerful boring habit of all. The sixth boring habit is sticking to a weekly routine that rarely changes. My life is simple. I wake up around the same time, eat similar meals, work during set hours, exercise, and follow a predictable evening routine. This may sound repetitive, but it reduces decision fatigue and protects my finances because routines eliminate impulsive spending. When your days are structured, you give yourself fewer opportunities to wander into situations that lead to unnecessary purchases. A routine feels boring at first, but over time, it becomes incredibly freeing because it helps you stay focused on what matters and prevents your money from drifting away. The seventh boring habit is simplifying my skincare and grooming routine. Years ago, I bought expensive products, followed over complicated regimens, and convinced myself I needed every new serum that appeared online. Then I realized something important. My skin looked better when I used fewer products, not more. Now I have 4 or 5 essentials, all affordable, all reliable, all easy to replace, or I buy things only when I finish them, and I ignore trends completely. This habit saves money while improving my skin, and it also removes the stress of constantly hunting for the next best thing. The eighth boring habit is using up every product I already own before buying new ones, especially when it comes to makeup, toiletries, and personal care items. It is shocking how long these things actually last when you commit to finishing them. Every time I use something for months instead of buying a replacement just because I am bored, I feel like I am keeping a promise to my future self. This habit is simple, predictable, and surprisingly satisfying because you start to appreciate what you already own instead of craving constant novelty. The ninth boring habit is wearing the clothes I already have and repeating outfits. This one changed my financial life more than I expected because clothing used to be a major spending trap for me. Now I build a small wardrobe, wear everything in it, and buy new items only when something wears out or when I truly need an upgrade. Wearing your clothes often lowers the cost per wear, strengthens your personal style, and eliminates the need to follow trends. The 10th and final boring habit is treating myself like a bill by paying myself first. Whenever I receive income, the first thing I do is move a portion of it into savings or investments. I do not wait until the end of the month. I do not wait until everything else is paid. I pay myself before anything else because my future deserves that priority. This habit builds wealth quietly and steadily, even when you are not thinking about it. And before I wrap this up, I want to add something important that ties all of these habits together because none of them work in isolation. What makes these boring habits powerful is the way they reinforce each other over time. When you repeat meals, you create structure. When you clean your fridge, you eliminate waste. When you stop boredom shopping, you protect your attention. When you simplify routines, you protect your money. All of these actions build a foundation that becomes stronger the longer you maintain it. I also want to be honest and say that these habits did not feel natural at first. In the beginning, they felt slow, almost too quiet, as if nothing was happening. But money grows in silence, and progress happens when you are not watching it constantly. Little by little, your savings rise, your spending settles, and your confidence increases. One day, you look back and realize that every boring habit you stuck to became the reason your life feels lighter now. If your routines feel chaotic or your spending feels scattered, remember that you only need to start with one step. Pick one habit from this list and practice it for a week, then keep going. You will be surprised by how quickly momentum builds because boring habits compound in the same way money does. And as you move through your journey, remember that the results you want come from the consistency you build, not the intensity you start with. Every choice that feels steady is building something for you, even if you cannot see it yet. Trust the small habits and let the quiet parts of your routine support your future in ways that matter. If this helped you, let me know with a like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Just a reminder, I'm not a financial advisor. This video is for educational purposes only, and any results depends on your decision and actions.